If you're finding it hard to know which way to go or how to stay in alignment, it's not because you're lost. You can't get lost. You always belong in life. The real reason you don't know your direction is actually a little bit more surprising, quite fun. This is what very few people know, and those who do have the power to instantly bring themselves back on course. Not knowing your direction is actually an indicator that you're playing across paradigms. That's a little bit like playing chess with Monopoly pieces, or straddling Winterland and Somerville and wondering if you should be wearing a bikini or a scarf, right? In this workshop, I'm going to explain what that means and also what to do about it. My name is Elizabeth, and I am an ontologist with Keren School of Thought. Ontology is a line of philosophy that deals with the human journey, the coming of age, the realization, the enlightenment. And at Keren School of Thought, we make roadmaps and tools for you to use on life's path, and then we teach you how to use frameworks for thinking and feeling and acting in a way that supports an increasingly enlightened lifestyle. So if you sent us your email address to get hold of this class, great. And if you found the class elsewhere or somebody sent it to you, also great. But please send us a message with your email address so that we can send you the recording and a free downloadable MP3 meditation set against binaural beats in the theta frequency for some really, really deep healing when it comes to the paradigm of knowing your direction. So just drop a note to Keren School of Thought at gmail.com. I'm going to put an end card at the end of this video with all of the details in it. Now, let me repeat something very important. It's not because you're lost that you don't know where you are. You can't get lost. You always, always belong in life, which is why you won't find your direction out there. You will not find your direction if you keep looking for it. You live your life in a completely unique set of circumstances. Nobody on this planet since forever has experienced the world the way that you do. Your personal cocktail of traumas and victories and culture and genetics and handicaps and privileges and preferences is unquantifiable, cannot be measured, nor explained, nor comprehended. And that's why it's so hard to understand another's struggle and why it's so hard to feel understood by another. You know, they say you need to walk a mile in someone's shoes before you can feel their pain, but that doesn't work either. You can walk a mile in their shoes, but they fit differently on you than they do on them. It's a completely different experience. You need to walk a mile in your shoes and be really, really present in it. Because this marvelous cocktail of a life that you've led so far cannot be instructed in any direction by any other agency than the one you are. No matter who is wearing whose shoes, there is only one direction in life, and that is the natural one moving through you. If you feel that you've lost direction, it just means you're looking in the wrong place. So, what is the right place to look? I'll get to that. One thing we do so often and so erroneously is that we watch all of the different people doing all the different ways in life and doing all the different things, and then we start grasping to know which way is the right way, and we're afraid to get it wrong. For whatever reason, maybe it's because we think we're too weak to face the resistance from others who do it differently. Or maybe it's because we truly do care so much about the world and want the best for it, even if we don't know what that best is, and we're afraid of doing harm by getting it wrong. Whatever reason for losing sight of our direction is that the result is that we lose sight of ourselves. We simply cannot sense our own highest and best direction if we're getting mixed up in other people's rules and paradigms? What good is your compass if you're looking at someone else's map? So, to get back into alignment, remember which game you're playing and what the rules of play are for you in your life. Is it ground in and nurture home? Is it go out and educate? Is it train and empower? Is it rest and reflect? Is it spread love? Is it spread fun? Is it tear down and clean up? Is it make a sandwich? Map these things out energetically. Map these things out energetically to be clear on the options that are in front of you. And don't spend any more energy worrying about what others are doing. Instead, pay that energy forward into your own potential and growth. That is how you will be able to discern what the next best step is for you to take. That is truly for the highest and best for everyone. Easier said than done. Today's workshop, I have designed this as a lovely narrative and meditative experience because there are some things in life that cannot be learned intellectually. They must be absorbed vibrationally. So I'm going to take you through some enlightening thought experiments and metacognition techniques that will help bring you right back into a focused and aligned mindset. This kind of learning is vibrational attunement. And the reason we can do this so effectively is because all memories of all things are in your cellular consciousness right now. Glistening golds of rolling sands underneath the red sky. The cooing and chirping of a damp inner jungle. Or the suffocating terror of medieval persecution. Or the lofty, cool smoothness of an alabaster column. Or the feeling of running liberated over a soft meadow. The feeling of a canvas bag in your hand, heavy with gold coins. Or a kiss and the smell of someone's newly washed hair. When you invoke an imagination, whether it is in love or in fear, when you visit it in your mind, it invokes a sensory experience, like a whisper of a remembering. And you remember it because you were there. You are all of it, which means you have access to every single frequency or field of energy that you desire. They're all here now. And your ability to tune into them simply relies on your knowing of them. And this quality or skill is the same as the one that you use to align your identity and awareness with the creative flow that moves through you, bringing you into the state of abundance that is required for safely surrendering into the natural flow that moves through you. We're relying on a part of the body system called the limbic system. This is the part of the brain that invokes memories, that invokes energy fields, vibrational, psychoneurosomatic qualities, vibrational frequencies. You can refine your law of attraction, or point of attraction, with precision using this particular, I've got off on a complete and utter thing. We're also going to use the essential oil cypress. Mine is gold because mine comes from the Oils of Ancient Scripture kit with from Young Living. Oh my goodness, it's good. I'm also an independent distributor of these oils because I love them so much for their ability to adjust your psychoneurosomatic frequency with precision. You can really, really use them in harmony with your own body's limbic system to alter the way that you vibrate. Now, cypress is a wonderful oil for grounding into a sense of authentic direction, which is why I've chosen this for this experience. The cypress tree has long been associated with everlastingness. That's the fundamental essence of your real self, not the temporary construct, but the eternal essence. And cypress has long been associated with that. In fact, the ancient Greeks and the Romans, they associated cypress with the afterlife and with the before life. And Shakespeare, he wrote all about its use in managing the shift into death. So it's known for transcending the rules of culture and system. And that's important now. I'm going to come to that in a minute. But cypress it's associated with the root energy field, which is sometimes known as chakra 1, which stands for vitality, physical energy, self-preservation, life force. And also the third eye energy, which is sometimes known as chakra 6, the central nervous system, the insight, the inspiration. So it creates a vibrational dynamic that's perfect for remembering your direction, grounded firmly into life now, but also with crystal clear clarity of what is yet to come. So what you do is you take a drop into the palms of your hand. If you don't have cypress, that's okay. You can use another oil and set the same intention to know thyself. But if you have cypress, you have an advantage. Drop a drop into the palm of your hand, rub together, and inhale. It takes only seconds for the essence of grandfather cypress to travel through the olfactory nerve and into the brain, and then into the rest of the body and into the energy field and into the consciousness. We're going to go on a journey now to align your awareness and identity with the creative flow that moves through you, bringing you into the state of abundance that is required for safely surrendering to the natural flow that moves through you. That is to say, your direction. There is a reason why I use the word safely. What happens when you completely let go of control of all things and you close your eyes and fall forwards into the unknown? Is it really safe? Is it true that nature will gently catch you and hold you in her stream of unending life force and growth? Or is nature a cruel and unforgiving mistress where the law is eat or get eaten unless you depart from mother and choose culture? And if it's both, how do you safely navigate the ever-moving thresholds between your mastery as a person in a cultural structure and your surrender as a child of nature's ways? I personally conducted an extreme life experiment in surrender that ended with my family, with 2 small children, and my husband and I sharing a habitat in the wild with lions, coyote, bears, and the rugged weathers of nature's breath. And I learned a few things about how nature works in and through us. And it ain't always pretty, but when you get it, you get it. And your whole life falls into place. Your direction becomes embodied, and all things become smoother. Now, let me give you the context. I'm going to quickly recap how I know that this is true. My family and I, we lost everything very quickly in 2017. All of our material wealth vanished. Sometimes gently without us noticing, like the clients that would stop calling, or the contracts that would just not get renewed. And sometimes brutally, like when the city bus totaled our car. So we risked everything and thought to ourselves, we will follow the thread of desire, and we punted everything on a cute little cottage kitchen chocolate business, which tanked. So we ended up living in a derelict barn in the Front Range of Colorado with broken windows and doors that were held together with bungee rope, which was the only thing between us and the bears that would scavenge the junk pile at night. The wild storms, they sort of shook the walls, and they reminded us that we were at the mercy of nature. We received so much practice in using a rather more supernatural frequency known as grace to keep us safe. And we mastered this so well that the universe led us out into an even harder boot camp the next year, living far out in the harsh and brutal lands in Colorado, separated from nature by a sheet of canvas this time. So we had upgraded from a bungee rope to a canvas tent. What is the mystical balance that keeps unprepared people like us from being totally devoured? That's the same question that faces everyone who's resisting letting go of control, letting go of all the things that prevent you from realigning, letting go of all the things that give you the assurity of your survival. I'm going to show you a few perspectives from nature that I formulated in my experience, and then I'm going to give you an attunement that will help to activate an incredibly beneficial energy field in your life. Now, in your mind's eye, pull up an image from somewhere in your memory banks of a gorgeous nature scene that you've once adored. Maybe a waterfall, maybe a mountain range, maybe a sunset on the beach, maybe a teeny tiny caterpillar. Bring it up, bring up this memory of being with nature and feel it. The great revelation of self that you get when you're thrown into nature the way that I was is that nature isn't a thing that you connect with. The moments like the one that you've invoked in your memory now, this moment you had with nature, that's not what nature is. Because nature is not that three-dimensional thing out there that we use for our stage and setting for life. No, it is you that you are connecting with when you have moments like those. Nature doesn't experience herself like that at all. In fact, the only way that nature gets to experience herself like that is through you in that very moment. And so, in your experience of nature in that moment that you've remembered, it was you that you were connecting with. Now, do a thought experiment with me here. Right? This is the first of a few vibrational attunements. Let's zoom in our minds into what we call nature. Let's position ourselves on the forest floor with the size, say, of a small mouse. But we'll keep our human eyes and our human brain and our human systems for interacting with the world. And from this human point of view, we can see all sorts of four-dimensional activity. We can see hustling and bustling in space-time. We can see insects eating other insects. We can see a raindrop crushing the home of a small ant family. We can see a monstrous hawk swooping down. These are human ways of seeing nature. Now let's body hop to the snake who sees in infrared. It knows reality as fields of heat. And now let's body hop to the tiny bee, whizzing around in an ultraviolet universe. And now the bat, an entirely somatic awareness. It doesn't know how we see it. It knows itself only as an expression of echolocation in a vibrational universe. So for that reason, when you ask yourself, can I trust myself to surrender to nature? Can I trust nature if I do surrender? Let me reassure you, you can trust nature to do what nature does. You can not trust nature to make any special dispensation for you for being a cultured person. If you live in a small tent made of canvas and you're in the wild and something needs to eat you, you're fair game as far as nature's concerned. Packs of coyotes, bears were breaking into our food stores. There were footprints of mountain lions down by the stream where our children wash their hair. In nature, you are fair game. So you need another agency as well as nature. And I'm going to take you along on another thought experiment here. There are no judgments, there are no decisions, you don't need to formulate any standpoints at all. Just allow the stream of consciousness, because this thought experiment is a little more challenging. So if you need to go back to Cyprus, now's a good time. Take a deep breath. The flow of absolute grace. That is the mystical life force that radiates through you and also through all of nature. And it is best participated in when you have completely surrendered your need to survive. When you have confronted and allowed your own mortality and that of everyone you love, and you no longer need to survive, then you have connected with the self in you that is eternal, and you know who you are. Then you can participate safely in total surrender with nature, because then you are in the flow of it. But listen to this. This is why this is so hard, particularly for an overthinker who's used to operating with mental structures, with definitions and boundaries. This is hard because in nature, there are no perpetrators. There are no victims. There is no right and there's no wrong. We don't blame the wasp for eating the ant. We don't lament that the bloodline of an elk has been brutally terminated by a callous lion who has murdered her baby calf. Nature's systems are harmonious, even when they seem brutal. So can we allow that? Can we allow that? Harmony sounds nice. So we would have to say then that a virus isn't fundamentally a bad thing that needs to be stopped. It's behaving the way it behaves. What if we are too? Let's examine that as if we are totally Darwinian, evolutionary creatures of nature, that it was a good and right thing that we evolved this incredible intelligence and adaptability that made us the masters of the universe. Do you remember the scene from The Matrix when Agent Smith compares humanity to a virus? Now, a virus is something that deconstructs. It breaks a thing down. And there are other powers in nature designed for that also. There's fungus and there's bacteria, and there are many energy fields that we're in touch with every single day that break us down. Part of a system of total vibrational recycling. I remember once that Joe Rogan used the metaphor of a spot of mold on a cheese sandwich that just grows and grows and grows until the sandwich is consumed, at which point the mold starves and dies. And he said, I think we're supposed to eat the sandwich. I pondered on that for years. Are we really designed this way? Do we have to come of age? Do we have to uphold the balance of all things? And if we destroy it all, is that wrong? Stay in the flow with me here. It's safe, I promise. I recommend to everyone to read the book Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. Now, Ishmael is an encaged gorilla, and he's exploring the human condition with a young nameless man. In the story, the gorilla describes the human departure from nature with the tale of two peoples. There were the takers and there were the leavers. And Mother Culture offered humanity a way to overcome nature, to conquer the animalistic survival drive, and instead be free to focus our attention into wonder and creativity and expression, and to ensure our dominance over nature so that we could survive. And the takers, they were the ones who said, oh, yes, please. Yes, we will build dams so we can fish anytime we like. And we will build storehouses and we'll save food for the winter. And the leavers, they were the ones who said, no, thank you. We will live in harmony with nature. And we will trust that when our dams dry up or our reservoirs dry up and our rivers go dry, and our tribe starves to death, we will trust that nature continues in other ways, eternally, whether we are a part of it or not. There's a bit from Humankind, a book by Peter Farb, that describes this balance in a really brutal but natural line. Food supply goes up, population count goes up. Food supply goes down, population goes down, and food supply goes up. And this is a really brutal balance, and it brings with it phenomenally challenging ethical questions. If we were to surrender our dominance over life, if we were to surrender our control of our survival and the way we believe we need to show up in life, and surrender to the ways of nature, does it mean we need to let people starve to death? That's the obvious one. Now, I know how enraged we are that there is such an imbalance of food among our own people. When I was homeless, we got our food from a food rescue mission in Denver, Colorado, called Joy's Kitchen. Now, they would drive around organic food markets and collect tons and tons of good food that was being thrown out for different legislative reasons. And there were people right there in the city starving. Can we carry on letting this sort of imbalance happen because we need to buy into the idea that culturally we need to destroy ourselves like a patch of mold before balance can be restored? You know, it's not an unnatural system. It wouldn't be unnatural if that was our way. But what about the effect that us humans are having on the world's coral reefs? Now, in the last 30 years, we've lost 50% of the world's corals. 50%. Unequivocally, because the oceans have warmed by more than a couple of degrees. And we know that it's because of the human consumption of fossil fuel. Could we carry on letting that happen, knowing that it is destroying our host, which means we will also eventually die? And that also, this is a very common system in nature. In absolute terms, it would bring a lot more order to the universe if we let ourselves destroy everything the way a spot of mold consumes the whole sandwich. The loss of the coral is very symbolic of the process of this happening to us and to our planet. So let me ask you, if we are to surrender to nature, it means we must surrender to mortality, to death, and to rebirth. Or we claim ourselves as the dominators of the entire system and consume what we can until there's nothing left. We eat the sandwich and be okay with the fact that we adapted, or we evolved this adaptability. We're a part of a Darwinian system, and that therefore we're fulfilling our place as nature's destroyers. Shall we toy with that dynamic for a moment? Because this is the same dynamic that we're playing with when we're searching for our direction. The natural way, where there are no guarantees, or the cultural way, where there is a limit for how much growth is possible. All options, when we're searching for our direction, all options are out there in the structured world of culture and form. And all of those options will likely guarantee you some sort of safety net. For example, if you exchange minutes of your life for a paycheck, you will get a paycheck. all options out there will guarantee you some sort of safety. Because all options are out there except one, the one moving from inside of you and out into life, the natural agency of growth. I'll take a moment here to just notice what you're feeling, what you're knowing is truth in your heart. And you can feel the answer here. Don't be afraid of knowing what you know about who you are. The truth is benevolent. And remember, there is also the believer consciousness still thriving. The indigenous people right now across the world comprehend and embody nature's way. And yet they also know that there is one thing that makes us very different from nature. We have conscious choice. We get to be as diverse as nature, even among ourselves, even within ourselves. And that brings me full circle, because to trust in nature, to trust in the surrender of your control to the natural agency that moves through you, you must first fully connect with yourself and ground in past your mortality and into the eternal part of you. For there is your essence of truth. Now you can safely play with Mother Nature. So right now, if you still have that cypress nearby, grab it please, open the lid and sniff. And close your eyes and ponder these natural ways of being. I'm going to list a few ways of being that are natural, acceptable, and allowed by providence, by the universe, by Mother Nature herself, and see which one you most align with. You could be like the virus, rapidly breaking down and deconstructing. You can be like the mold, slowly consuming until there is nothing left. You can be like the enzyme, manipulating and balancing the functions of things. Or you can be like the essential oil, which nurtures and nourishes and enlivens and fortifies and heals. Now let me tell you something. If you smell an essential oil, you immediately resonate with life. Whatever season you're in, whether you are dying or being reborn, wading in the shadowlands or surfing on a high, when you align with essential oil, your most natural function is to heal, to nurture and enliven. An essential oil, you see, is life force. This is what you are living for. You live for life force. And everything you do, even all of the suffering and the toiling out there and the structure of culture, is actually always an attempt to experience more of this, more of the exhilaration of experience, more of the love. So right now, let yourself go completely still. And notice the life force moving through you so abundantly. You are literally soaking with it. This is the energy which becomes your abundance, because it is nature, the most abundant thing on all of the earth. And when you feel almost like the tingling of life, you have your answer. And it is a good one. Surrender into it. Take a few deep breaths here, and in your own way, sink in to that knowing that you are literally soaking in life force. And prepare your body and mind now for a visualization that will help to attune you back into the flow of life. And rest now, right where you are. Imagine your life as a river flowing, sometimes still and gentle, and sometimes rushing rapids. You've been led by the current to a point in your river where there is a divergence occurring. Hundreds of thousands of little streams are breaking off from one another. Different directions have formed. There are options coming at you from the riverbanks. These may be the voices of well-meaning advice givers, or they may be judgments from those who would condemn your sort of a river. Or they may be conflicting ideas in your own mind about what is true about you and life and acceptable directions. Turn around, swim away, swim back, swim left, swim right, quickly before you crash into the side, calls a voice. Swim at the riverbank with all your might and crash through it. You don't need anyone to tell you where to go, says another one. Swim around it, get off, get out of the river. Avoid it at all costs, cries another voice. And a million more options are thrown at you all the time, and you try holding on to each one of them to weigh them up, but they're weighing you down. And you are sinking because it's too much for you to hold on to, because you simply do not know which one is the right one. You cannot think your way to the answer. Take a deep breath here and release all the options, everyone. One by one, every expectation falls from you and you become more and more buoyant. When there is no longer any idea left of where these divergent rivers ought to go, you realize they're all going the same way, in the same direction. And you float now weightlessly on the surface of the river, which simply directs you down one of the currents. Doesn't even matter which. New views, new experiences, same direction. You still do not know exactly where it's leading, but it no longer matters, because you do know that in absolute terms, it is harmless. It is harmless because you cannot be harmed. You are the essence of the river itself, and you not only flow down the river with grace and ease, but you also shape it by your very presence. You sculpt it gently as you carve out new banks to contain the flow, not with force, but by your very presence. You are the alchemy that transforms this life, and it too transforms you. Now the flow, the direction, and the source and the substance is what you are. And you can hear your soul singing to you. Now only you know exactly what that sounds like. But the frequency is a little bit like the words of the folk teacher Narco Bear, and they go like this. You've got the keys, but I'll never keep my door locked. You can always come right in. And if my arms are full, well then you can bet I will drop it all right then. I might be busy, but I've always got the time to surrender to your beauty, beauty. And that is fundamentally the frequency of the flow of grace that holds you. It's the flow of eternal life force, of eternalness, of never-endingness, that says, yes, you do have the keys to the mastery of all the things, the health and the wealth, and your whole life is at your fingertips. You do have the keys. And yet, the door is never locked. You can always trust that there is a benevolent flow of natural life force that streams through you. It's true for everyone. It's life, which means it's also safe to let go of control, to let go of the riverbanks, to let go of the suffering. And that doesn't take away from the sacredness of your struggle. It's still a noble gift. You get to keep you get to keep hold of your hardship if you like. But it does give us permission to rest and relax and realign. Now, here is the real secret. You can and should learn to use the tools that are available for you to use every day to enjoy the benefits and the richness of an expanding life. That's your mastery. That's why the resources like the ones we teach at Karen School of Healing are so valuable, because these are life techniques and ways of thinking that have been used for thousands of years for longevity, for your life. So tap into this. So yes, what you do, so do what you can to learn the methods that will steadily make your life better and better. That's your mastery. But wait, there's more. Doing what you can to live better is your mastery. But your grace, on the other hand, lies underneath and interwoven with everything that you undertake in life for your life. That's what makes the doing so much easier. It's your love. It's your goodness. And your knowing of it is what activates it. There's really nothing mystical about it. The more you accept and allow the fact that you are mostly very, very good, the more you'll accept that you completely belong in life. And the easier life gets. The weight lifts, the complexities simplify, the overthinking unravels and clarifies. Life gets natural. We are so blessed that we know so much about the energy systems in the body, the way that nutrition and essential oils influence the whole being. We've got teachers all over the world sharing this information. There are easy adjustments that can be made in your diet. There are sustainably made organic supplements that we can add to balance our chemistry. There are essential oils that we can use to attune ourselves out of shame and into worth, out of guilt and into gratitude, out of anger and into peace. We know how to hydrate. We know how to breathe. We know how to think. And we know how to love. And the more we practice these things, the easier they get. Because that benevolent life force that supports you in your hardship, when you've walked a mile in your shoes and you just need to sit and rest and realign, that same life force also supports you in your power. So at the very least, explore the resources that are available to you, knowing that even the grandest, most lofty ideal becomes easy when you approach it with grace. So consider your enlightenment. Consider your knowing of yourself. Consider your absolute surrender to your own life force. And consider the peace that ensues. Now, if you would like help getting started with essential oils for vibrational mastery, remember this is psychoneurosomatic attunement. This is attunement in the mental field, in the vibrational field, and in the molecular field in the body. You let me know if you would like me to help you get started with essential oils so that you can take more control, more sovereignty, more allowing for the natural expansion of your life. And if you're ready to work directly with me to learn the frameworks that will help to attune the thinking and the feeling and the decision making in your life to support an increasingly enlightened lifestyle, then you can go and explore www.kerrinschoolofthought.com. There'll be a slide with the details at the end of this video. And there is also a lovely newsletter that you can join, and it's called Cups of Grace. It's a weekly editorial with perspectives and essential oils to maintain that graceful frequency in your life. So, thank you for watching the video. There was a lot of wisdom and information to cover, but don't worry, this video and the free gift is going to make its way to you in no time if you remember to send me your email address. The free gift is an MP3 with the meditation that we did today, overlaid against beautiful binaural theta waves for multi-layered healing. So, to sum up this one message for overthinkers about finding direction. Grace is the natural flow of your life, and that is the direction that your soul is going. And it is safe to let go of the riverbanks. So from me and Kerrin's School of Thought and my friend Cypress Oil, good night.